Welcome back, listeners, to the Mel Gibson podcast. Once again, I am hugging a cactus with Katie. Katie, welcome back to the show. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. And good evening to you. It's morning here, but evening for you. Yes?
Yes, we are enjoying the time zone difference once again, despite your change in, what was it, daily savings time?
Yes. So Europe must have done it last week or sometime.
We did it last week. Yeah, last Saturday.
We did it this overnight, I guess, this morning.
Well, it's a win. You get a longer weekend.
Yep. I'll take it.
So do I, even though it's raining.
Oh, it's beautiful and sunny here.
Yeah.
It almost always is in Denver.
Well, Colorado is really pretty. So, bird on the wire today. After the movie, did you feel like a bird on a wire?
I don't really understand where that came from, to be honest with you.
I think it's a saying. I do know about the song, however, because it was like a hit song in like late 70s. My mother I think she had a record of it. Then when this movie came out, the Neville brothers had a huge hit with it.
Covered it. I also was unfamiliar with that. However, so Bird on a Wire, 1990. So for some reason, when we were discussing doing this movie, I thought it was later. I thought it was maybe late 90s, but it was 1990. So I'm really not sure when I saw it because I was like 8-ish when this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 or 9. And so I probably didn't see it when it came out. So I'm not sure when or how I saw it. But I mean, maybe I've only seen it one time prior to watching it recently to cover it. Have you seen it multiple times?
I have. Also, I saw it as when it was in the theater because it was date night. I think I was 17 when it came out, and it was definitely on a date. I hope I had it. I don't remember it, but I hope I had a good time afterwards.
I'm sure you did. 17, that's such a great age.
This is kind of the awkward age for me.
Okay. Yeah. I like 17. That was a good age.
That was your prime?
Well, you don't have real worries yet. Right. You're young. You're probably at your peak of looks. 17 to 27 is probably your peak looks period.
The height of your youth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you're 17, that's like senior year in the United States, right?
Yeah. For me, it was most. Yes, I was young for my class. So most people are 18, but I'm an August birthday, so I was 17. Yep.
The youngest kid in the class.
There was one person younger. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle, like January 29th. That's my birthday. So I'm right in the middle of the year. So
yes, you are.
Yeah. And my birthdays always sucked because when it's your birthday in the winter, it just...
Or if it's close to Christmas time, I feel like people have birthdays around Christmas time.
People are tapped out on presents. And,
yeah. Mine was perfect halfway through the year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just solved it by going on a trip. That way you don't really think about your age or...
It's different. Yeah. Getting older. Birthdays they hit you a lot different now, don't they?
I never really enjoyed celebrating them anyway. I have to admit. No.
I don't know why I did. I shared mine with a sister. We were born 3 days apart.
Oh.
6 years and 3 days apart.
6 years. But, Oh, okay. Let me think. August. You were conceived early December.
Yeah, probably.
Perhaps after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Holidays.
Thanksgiving baby.
Baby, maybe. It's not a sexy time, but we don't want
for your parents it was.
Yeah, I guess. Now, speaking of, Bird on a Wire, Goldie looks great, and she shows her.
Doesn't she look amazing?
She's got a great ass.
Peak Goldie,
and she likes to show it. The scene where she is wearing the negligee and puts a robe on, so that creates the opportunity for Mel to see that since when did you start wearing underwear?
Yeah.
But it brought me back to Overboard. Yeah.
Where she met her husband, because Goldie is married to Kurt Russell.
They're actually not married.
They were never married?
That's their secret. They've been
just together
for like 40 years, but they've never gotten married, which I love. I kind of dig that.
Old Kurt has been dating her for decades, huh?
For 40 years. They have a kid together, but yeah, so she wears that high, she's got a great butt, so she should show it off.
Yeah, she's a stunning woman anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Goldie has that little extra.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I am a fan of Goldie. I gotta say, I mean, she added a lot.
Her
the
powerful comedic timing.
Yes.
She carries the movie.
She really does. Now, Mel, two things that I will just as an overview, and then I'll.
No worries.
With this movie, Bird on a Wire, rewatching it, everything about it was so very 1990. Didn't you think? Watching it, like the cars, his Guess jeans, the Apple computers, the mullet. He's got a mullet.
Oh yeah, his late 80s mullet.
The suits that they wear. I mean, it is so 1990. The car, everything about it, and even the things that they say. I'm like, whoa, you would never say that now. Or
nope.
Even the humor, I'm like, that's not funny. Like, has humor changed? So
it's gotten all sensitive now.
That I noticed. Not even that, just like, I don't even know if I want to call it slapstick, just the type of comedy that it was. I didn't find it funny now, but I guess things change. But I do very much, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed Goldie in it.
I think it was the kind of comedy that you're used to seeing with a laugh track. Because this is like 80s comedy writing. And if you look at the guys who wrote it, those would be guys who would be writing for your favorite show, Golden Girls Next. And they would like be heavily dependent on the laugh track, which is kind of the TV version of the drum roll. Boom, boom. It's like, hey, we have a joke. This is the punch.
That's true. But even when I watch Golden Girls now, it's funny. Like the lines are funny. They're just things that are said, like that line about, oh, since when did you start wearing underwear? You can tell that it's supposed to be funny, but it's just not funny. I just don't find that funny.
Yeah, because it seems so misogynistic now.
Well, not even that. I'm trying to think of another example. Or just the
Muffy.
I don't know.
When did you start wearing underwear?
Muffy. The name Muffy.
Muffy. That's like the sexual nickname.
And of the time. Like, I kind of forgot about that. Did you know anyone named Muffy back in the day? Or Buffy or Mitzi? It's, that genre of name seems to come from the late 80s.
Coming from a non-English country, we don't use those names anyway. We do use a lot of English names now.
Okay.
I remember at the time, the most popular English-sounding name was Roxanne because of the song. And in Dutch, it just sounds awful. And it would usually be like kind of like, trashy, lowbrow, kind of like trailer park people who would call their child Roxanne.
Okay.
Wouldn't be able to pronounce it. So it was just awkward.
Funny.
But the most common girl names were like Monique and Stephanie and Kelly and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Jessica was a big 80s name.
It was. Yeah, all of those names. You're right. Those were all very common 80s names.
Yep.
Like if you were born. Yep.
Yep.
Now, the other big thing I noticed, I like literally out loud said, ew, when I saw Mel's hair in a ponytail. That nasty mullet of his, he has in a low, like ponytail bun. It's gross. I hate it. Hate it.
Can I say?
Thoughts? You didn't notice it, or
I do not notice male hair. I'm like, okay, so you have hair.
Gross.
Well, the character is kind of gross when you think about it.
I don't hate his character.
Oh, he's adorable.
Yeah.
But he's basically a hypocrite, strange, quirky, and peculiar, and in a very annoying way, very principled, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
He picks and chooses. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, so the basic story is that we get to know him sort of. He's in the witness protection program. We don't know why yet. As it turns out, he was a drug dealer for soft drugs like hash, stuff like that. And they had like this college. They were in college and they had like this thing going like, let's use the plane and get some drugs. Apparently, they bragged to the wrong person, which is a criminal you see leaving jail after serving his sentence, played by David Carradine, and a character called Sorensen. And he's picked up by another character, which is played by Bill Duke, who is Diggs. And those two heinous people are going to be after Rick. And you sort of get that sense at the start of the movie when everyone's introduced. And then, of course, Marianne, a.k.a. Muffy, is introduced, Goldie Hawn's character. And she's a power attorney and she has no respect for men and basically ragdolls everybody, including her boyfriend. And so she seems to be, how shall I put this, disappointed in life, even though she's on top of the business world and moving and shaking. And so at some point, she gets her car serviced, and this guy servicing her car he looks familiar. So she starts to lawyer him, like questioning him, like, "Hey, aren't you?" And he's like, "No, I have no idea who you are. No, I'm from."
Because he does recognize that it's her.
Oh, he knows her right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Now,
so to speak of what a hypocrite he is. Okay, so he went into witness protection after his friend is killed during the drug deal, and he turns on the people he did business with and rolls on them. So he doesn't have to go to jail, but he goes to jail in another way. He goes into this witness protection thing, which is kind of a form of slavery when you think about it. You just move from town to town, and whenever you have the threat of being discovered, you have to leave again. So, of course, he has to leave again because he's recognized. And the minute his ex-girlfriend shows up, he's like, "Oh, shit, better call the FBI and get a new gig." And that goes completely awry because Diggs and Sorensen, the bad guys, have the FBI on the take now.
Yeah.
And so they know right where he is. So they show up, and the gas station he works at blows up. And the guy who attends the owner of the gas station gets killed. And he's sort of blamed for it because the guy writes his name, or at least the name of his alias. But since he's not in the FBI computers anymore, nobody really knows his alias anyway. It doesn't really matter. But he's on the run. And he's on the run, and somehow he's on the run with his old girlfriend.
When we meet Rick, so his Mel Gibson's character's name is very good synopsis, by the way. I just wanted to add a few things. So it's really loose. Like, this plot is very loose. It needs a lot of glue holding it together.
Yes.
When we meet Mel, Rick is his real name. We meet him in Detroit at this gas station that he's been working at for 3 months, and with a sweet old man that wants to sell it to him. And the sweet old man's name is Marvin. And we see this coming a mile away. Sweet old man is, endears himself. Oh, he's a goner. He's
dead as a doornail.
Soon. Yeah,
he's
gonna be dead pretty soon.
Yep.
Mel's character, completely unnecessary. His name is Billy Ray. He's in Detroit. His character, for some reason, is from Tennessee, and he has a bad accent. Like, that's unnecessary.
When you already find out he's a bad liar, because he doesn't remember his lies and he doesn't keep them consistent, which is a little stupid when you're in witness protection. I think you'd expect that the FBI would train you, like, hey, you have to really be the person you're pretending to be, otherwise,
But keep it simple. Why create a character that requires an accent?
Yeah.
That you can't do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, okay. So he lies about himself, and he gets found out while he's lying, and he just sort of, because he's charming, he gets away with it. And so we get a kind of sense of, okay, here's this guy who's just, he's kind of drifting through life in this witness protection thing. And so here's his ex-girlfriend. And apparently the relationship they had, which was kind of like college dating, really, they were in college, and she married right out of college. We find out 4 months after she hears he's dead, she marries basically the college doofus.
But didn't she think they were going to get married, or did he leave her at the altar, or there was something about that in the he was supposed to come back, and
they were going to start a life together, and instead he never came back.
Yeah.
And neither did his friend.
He's dead.
Yeah, they had kind of like this weird triangle thing happening where he and his best friend would do stuff, and they would do things together all the time. Which kind of made me kind of think, well, okay, it's the 70s. Things were a little looser back then. People were experimenting. Maybe it was kind of a three-way kind of thing.
It was just, again, like a loose thing. There was all these things. There were all these unnecessary, they're not even plot points, just ideas that were introduced for no reason. Like, that friend didn't need to exist other than the fact that he died. and it was his plane, I guess. The friend was rich or something, but it's his plane that they were using.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contrivance.
Yes. Additionally, Goldie, now she's in New York, like that's where she's based or something, I believe. I want to say New York or LA.
Yeah.
But there's some reason that she has to go to Detroit. I mean,
business deal.
Okay, that's super.
Yeah, she calls up her boyfriend, not her husband, because she's divorced already. She calls up her boyfriend, and she who's this kind of bland, balding, boring dipshit guy. And she goes, well, hey, you always said you wanted to have sex in a weird place. Want to come to the Detroit? And he's like, nah, I have better things to do.
So she goes.
He has better things to do.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's for a movie, but like, what are the odds that she shows up at a gas station in Detroit where her, ex-lover is
I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Yes, because the last person you want to see, if you're in a city of, say, 5 million people, that's the person you run into. You always run into an ex, inevitably, at exactly the wrong moment, and it's always awkward, and it's always strange. I think, I have theories about this. I think that's because, there's a reason you were together in the first place. You sort of have the same kind of desires and the same kind of ways of thinking, modes of thinking, the same needs at the same time.
Okay.
Right? So then it basically you circle into each other. Otherwise, you never would have met each other in the first place. Because it's really modes of behavior that kind of create this convalescence of characters, right? It's like, okay, people behave a certain way, and that's how they meet. And that really doesn't leave you. That's why you run into your exes all the time.
That sort of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Same on Facebook or any kind of social media. You express yourself in a certain way. You have certain interests. You're in certain hashtags. You inevitably run into someone Yeah. I'm not sure how that works with like swiping, because I'm not in the swiping generation. I probably will never be, because even if I I'd get divorced in some way, I think I would still do it the old school way. Because I can just do that. Whereas that's a skill most men have lost. They really can't date without an app anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas I can just walk up to someone in a grocery store and pick her up. That's no problem.
And it would work for you because, just as a side note, that's what most people would prefer. That I would venture to guess. Like nobody wants to be on an app. I would most women would probably appreciate that, like a person who actually comes and talks to them in real life.
Yeah, because then you get the other 80% of the communication you need. Like, first of all, is this really is this person I'm talking to, is that really the person I'm talking to? Or is this some kind of weird catfish thing where there's some sweaty fat guy in a basement somewhere, in his parents' basement, pretending to be this muscular god,
Yeah, indeed.
And here you have like this guy who's like basically pretending he wasn't your boyfriend 15 years ago.
Well, and then
which is what happens to Muffy / Marianne.
Like, prove it. Let me see your arm, because she knows her boyfriend had a dove tattoo.
Took the tattoo off. That's the first thing
but
you
do. He burned it off. Yeah.
Which makes sense. Which makes sense. If you're in witness protection, that's one of the first things you lose, because that way people can't identify you as quickly.
Good thing you only had the one.
Good thing.
Be hard,
or at least visible.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to be skipping ahead, I guess, but then come back to it. What did you think? One of the things that really stuck out at me, again, it's a movie, but she has the presidential suite.
Yeah, she's rich.
4 seasons.
She's
4
rich.
seasons. I mean, what kind of a lawyer? I realized she's like a rich lawyer, but the presidential suite at the 4 seasons.
Yeah, but she does mergers and acquisitions. She's selling companies. So she's a contract lawyer, and she's basically a contract lawyer for really, really, really large sums of money. So that means, you're part of the process, so part of the proceeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I suspect that having a nice suite in a nice hotel is part of your package as a company in terms of how you present yourself to the other company that's buying. It's like, no, we're going to be in a Marriott, we're going to be in a Hilton, we're going to be in a very expensive hotel because what you're buying is expensive.
What was the Four Seasons?
Yeah, but the people buying were probably picking up the tab. They were probably paying for that thing.
I mean, boy, that's quite an expense. I mean, I would
if you really want to buy that company,
I guess $30,000, it was probably nothing to them for anyway.
And this was like the late 80s, right? People were insane. Everybody was on coke. Yeah. Everybody was doing business deals. Everybody went broke in the 90s, including your favorite Stallone. I mean, he went broke. That's what Rocky V is all about. All Rockies are autobiographical. Yeah. And Rocky V is about Stallone going broke because he had a bad marriage and he made really bad business decisions. And worst of all, he let his business deals be handled, I think, by his stepfather or something like that. And guy just ran his money into the ground by bad investments. It was a disaster. There's actually a famous, if you can look it up, there's a court case on his, with court depositions about how he sued his stepfather and they settled out of court. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Boy, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, okay, and back to Mel. Mel doesn't do that kind of stuff. Mel's rich beyond the dreams of avarice, and he doesn't do bad business deals. And this is right on the cusp of Mel becoming the huge Hollywood mogul he would ultimately become.
So what's happened, poor old Marvin, as we suspected, dies.
Yes.
These bad guys show up at the gas station.
He meets his demise. How
he
sad.
Does. And they try and frame Billy Ray, Rick. His name is Rick, but he was going as Marvin's.
Yes, but he goes by multiple names in the movie. He does. So I prefer just to call him Mel. Easier.
Mel. Okay, that is easier.
Because otherwise it's like, at some point he's a hairdresser and he's called differently again. And
just waiting. So, God, that was one of the things.
And then at some point he works in a ranch that functions as a veterinarian hospital. The veterinarian. And that's where he's called Jody. And he dated the pretty woman, the vet. He humped the vet.
They must have been pretty serious. And that's when he shows his hairy ass. I noted that.
Yeah, she has no problem with it either. She's seen it before.
I know, but I don't know.
It's really awkward, right?
Again, I don't know. It wasn't just the time because we also see Stallone's ass in 1990 in that epic shower scene.
Yes.
He did not have a hairy ass. Mel, I was just kind of shocked.
No, just a flat one. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I know it's 1990, Mel, but you're on, this is in a movie. You're just going to, that's all right. Yeah. Not a fan of that.
I could have done without it as well.
Yes.
But there's the comedic element of being shot in the butt.
Of course. Yes.
I mean, that's half of Forrest Gump, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where he gets shot in the butt.
I feel like
it turns into a joke because he's introduced to the president and the guy goes, I heard you got shot in the butt. And he's like, I heard you got shot. And he's like, where? He's like, the buttocks, sir. Like, I'd like to see that. And then he moons the president, which is kind of a big joke in the movie.
Yes, I forgot about that. Forrest Gump. Buttocks.
Yeah, because he explains it as it was a snake that came up and bit him because he got shot in the butt. And it's like, yeah. Buttocks. Yeah. So Mel is shot in the buttocks, and really, this is a chase movie. And they go from set piece to set piece to set piece. Everything goes really fast, and in between,
it does.
What really holds the movie together is really the chemistry between Goldie Hawn, her comedic timing, and Mel just being a goof. And I think this movie is wonderful. I have a lot of fun watching it and rewatching it and watching it again, because when you're doing a podcast, you tend to watch the movie multiple times before you record, and you look at it from different angles and different perspectives. And I had no problem watching this movie again and again and again, because it's just good. It's good. The lines are crisp. They have great chemistry. There are great actors in it. I mean, you have a kind of inebriated David Carradine in it, who at some point actually, I think he kind of just sort of moons the camera. You can actually see him like mugging the right into the camera. It's like, okay. David was a little difficult to work with that day, and they just kept the shot. It's great, and you can tell everybody's enjoying himself. You can really tell. You can tell Bill Duke is into his role. He's even smiling, which is like a rarity for Bill Duke. He's serious as a heart attack. And you can tell David Carradine is relaxed. You can tell all these character actors they brought in, they're having the time of their life, because really there's not much to the script. So that's when character actors come in and do their stuff.
Now, so it did seem, you brought up all the set piece. It does move fast. They're just getting in and out of one pickle after another.
Yes. They shoot every inch, and I mean every inch, of our CEO Ryan's backyard, because that movie is shot around Vancouver. And
That's
it's
right.
like, they probably even waved to him at some point.
In 1990. So
he was around.
Yeah.
I think he was like true. 14 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It was very tropey. Again, I may have felt differently about it back then, but watching it now, it's just very 1990.
It's paint by numbers. It's a paint by numbers on the run movie.
I was just going to say, what, from a genre categorization, would you put this in the same category as Romancing the Stone? An adventure, comedy, romance,
yes. Well, it's not really a romantic comedy, but it is. It's not really a buddy cop chase movie, but it is. It's kind of a typical Hollywood movie of the era. And I freely admit I enjoy it for that, because it's entertaining. It doesn't force you to think about the movie at all.
Yes.
It's fast. It has good dialogue. Goldie's fun. She's pretty. She's nice to look at. Mel is charming and fun and insane. I just enjoyed it.
I didn't not enjoy it. It's sort of I recalled why I probably had only seen it once before. It is what it is. Like, you're not expecting anything out of it. But I did think that it was lacking in, it was just like I said, plot is super loose. A lot of things don't make sense. They're all over the place. A few examples, I would say, first of all, they say that Mel has been in this witness protection program for 15 years. They continuously say that.
Yeah.
But they also continuously say the event that got him in it was in 1978.
Yeah.
That's 12 years.
Yeah.
How
does that work?
That makes no sense.
Yeah, don't think about that too much.
And then, like you said, they're in one pick. They go to town. They build in a reason why he has to go. He and Goldie are now on the run together in her blue Beamer. That's like kind of a part of the movie.
Yeah.
And they go from place to place, showing up at people. So we see who his previous characters, so they were in like Racine, Wisconsin. Was that where he was the hairdresser? And then I'm not sure where he was somehow he knows how to fly a plane at that veterinary farm place. But and then at the end, the zoo thing. Yeah,
because he worked in that zoo.
Don't even get me started on that. We'll get to it. But the Racine, Wisconsin. So many, it doesn't make, first of all, there's a motorcycle chase through Chinatown. There is no Chinatown. I actually have never been to Racine, Wisconsin, but I would be willing to bet a fair amount of money that there's no Chinatown in Racine, Wisconsin.
Well, there is one in Vancouver.
I know there is.
It's shot in Vancouver.
No sense. I know, but it just makes those are things that's not a thing that would be in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Nobody cared. There was no quality control here.
That's what I'm saying. From that perspective, this movie makes zero sense. They find reasons.
Welcome to 80s movie making.
the zoo thing is like, I think you're ripping off, you're trying to recreate the hilarity that was Romancing the Stone with the alligators and the wild animals and the bridge, the rickety bridge and the waterfall. So they're just inventing it in a zoo setting. Like they're just ripping it off. And it was not nearly as funny. I didn't find anything about it funny. It made me smile. I will say I didn't not enjoy it. But again, like watching it now, I'm like, I see that I'm supposed to laugh at that. Like that's meant to be funny. It's just not. I'm harder on it than you because there were just too many holes. It was too glued together. If it weren't Goldie Hawn, I will give them credit. They had good chemistry.
I think what you're arguing is that the MacGuffin doesn't work.
Maybe.
Because a MacGuffin is a reason to go chase something outside of the plot. So the characters have something to do without the plot moving forward, right? Before you do that, so you don't have to go into the final act right away. Now, so that's what this happened. Is like throughout the movie, Rick needs his address book because apparently he can't memorize addresses because he has some kind of, I don't know.
But he knows how to get everywhere without.
He knows how to get everywhere, but he's bad with addresses. Okay, whatever. So he has like this little notebook. And he apparently left that at his boyfriend when he was a hairdresser, because he was a hairdresser in a gay hairdressing salon. There are only men in there. There's no female barbers, just males.
There was a woman, but...
Are you sure, or was she in drag? You can't just assume that, Katie.
I'm pretty sure it was the woman, but I'm like, oh my God. He, of course, has to have like a...
so
stereotypical gay voice, and of course,
and he acts gay. I mean, around to fit in, he acted gay around the gay people, right?
But it's so dumb. Like, why? Oh, of course,
that's normal.
Hairdressers are all gay.
No,
they're all gay.
No, they're not. But when you have,
of course not. I'm just saying,
when you have a gay hairdresser who's the owner and he wants you to be gay, otherwise you can't work there.
Oh, now
I worked in the fashion industry. Everybody was either gay or acting gay because that was what was expected of you.
I'm not trying to like put it reeked of 1990, and I'm like,
it did.
Of course, that probably got a laugh in 1990. Mel Gibson, who's a major homophobe.
Yeah, here's this like really man's man, but he's a hairdresser and he has to act gay. So in my opinion, maybe there was something more going on. Maybe he was just, maybe he was in a relationship with this Ron guy. I mean, why else would this guy have his address book? They were apparently living together because why else would he have his personal possessions like that?
It was at the salon. And, when he has to when he has to change his, move to a new place, it's usually like, there's no notice. So he just, he had to split. It just was a gay salon, and they thought that would get a big laugh at the time. That hairdressers are gay and they all have a stereotypical gay voice, and it just wasn't funny. It's just not funny. Maybe it was in 1990. I thought it was rich though because Mel is a homophobe, and I don't know. But
isn't everybody
it was meant to be funny? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, of course. I just had to roll my eyes at it.
Yeah, because there you go. No, but I thought of it in terms of he was just, he was going through his gay phase and he was just, dating or sleeping with his boss and he owed him money. I mean, why else would this boss just give him money, give him an advance or whatever he wouldn't do that just for anybody. Not a guy like that.
You're thinking that they were dating like he dated the veterinarian? He
dated the veterinarian. So why wouldn't he be dating the hairdresser owner?
Oh, I didn't get that. I thought they just thought it was going to be funny. But, maybe.
That, and he also went through like a dry spell because at some point he and Goldie are in bed.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's talking her into sex. And the best way to talk someone who doesn't want to sleep with you into sex is basically saying, well, I really don't want to have sex with you because I don't have sex anymore anyway. Right? Because that's what he's saying. It's like, yeah, Mr. Wiggly, that's how he calls his cock. It's like Mr. Wiggly has been, going through a dry spell for the last 5 years. And it's like to her, that's really attractive because that just means like, he's nice and clean, right?
We love it when men call it Mr. Wiggly.
He calls it Mr. Wiggly. I don't call it Mr. Wiggly though.
I know. I'm like, everything about Mel's aura in this movie is like demagnetizes sexualness. He's so like the hair,
you wouldn't do him. It's obvious.
I'm like, ew, calling it Mr. Wiggly. Like, come on, Mel, aren't you trying to seduce her? That's not how you do it. I don't know. No, not feeling Mel Gibson.
Well, what I kind of enjoy about the whole thing was like he hadn't seen her in 15 years. He basically abandoned her, completely abandoned her, let her think he was dead. And then 15 years later, the way you do with ex-girlfriends, you pick up right where you left off. You're still in the zone. You're still on the same page. And you're just he's just as jealous as the day he left.
They're bickering, and she was jealous too when they go to
Neither of them matured very much.
Yeah,
they were both toxic to a lot of people.
Yeah,
because they were meant to be together, and that's really like the essence of the relationship. It's like they were trying to have the same relationship with other people, but those people just weren't good enough because they weren't the right person. If your boyfriend's bald with the glasses and skinny, Mr. Right is a guy with a big mullet, a big mouth, and he calls his dick Mr. Wrigley. Well, he would get freaky with her in Detroit. That's basically the what turns Muffy / Marianne on. Yeah.
They're back together. He did look better when they showed him in the 70s. He looked better then. So when she initially knew him. Yeah. I mean, most people look better in their 20s, and that's just how it goes, right?
Who knows? Some people get better with age. Depends.
Actually, now that I say that, most men tend to look better with age, which is an unfortunate disadvantage for us women. But
it's because we build character. We build character.
It takes you guys a very long time to mature.
Yeah. You have to get over the anxiety of showing your true self.
Yeah.
Most men tend to have alter egos almost, kind of like in Mad Men, where, well, really, when you look at Mad Men, that's actually the essence of a man. That's basically he's Dick. Every man is Dick, and you pretend to be Don Draper because everyone expects Don Draper out of you. So you're constantly living up to this image you created. And that's why men get depressed and why men get burned out, because it becomes impossible to be that person, impossible to be that man. This
that's a really good observation.
Expectation of yourself. It just becomes oppressive and impossible to keep up.
Yes, there's
and that's why Don Draper / Dick Whitman is a raging alcoholic, a disaster in all his relationships. Because he can't be honest. Because the minute he's honest, he's brutally punished for it. And that's really what every man fears. It's like, that when you're honest about yourself, people will take your success away from you. Women especially. Like all women, they date up. They don't date down. They date up. He has to be better than me. He has to be more successful than me. He has to be more together. He has to be confident. He has to be able to protect me. So if you start showing your vulnerabilities and being honest about yourself, saying, well, I actually half the time I feel like crying and I'm just so deathly afraid of losing everything. The minute you say that to a woman, she starts thinking divorce.
Well, but you do.
And that's the real fear men have in every relationship. It's like, well, if I'm honest about myself, she's just going to leave me for some other dude who's a better liar.
But only when he realizes that only true honesty gets you a true relationship, right?
Yeah, well, and that's where personal growth comes in. And also being able to meet the right people who value you for who you are instead of what they perceive you to be.
For sure. But I like your observation about Mad Men. That's a good one. Also, martini lunches. Let's bring them back. I like it.
It's one of the. That's why I still think it's one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
It is. It's a really good one.
With a perfect ending, unlike most American TV shows who have awful endings.
I hate to admit this, but I stopped. I need to rewatch it because I never watched the last, I never finished it.
That's a shame because the final season.
Don't tell me.
Well, you need to know this because otherwise you won't understand the ending. It's Don Draper unravels and becomes Dick.
Okay.
And once he comes to grips with that, he can be the real Don Draper.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, and it ends on his greatest creative, because Dick is really a creative force. That's his job. That's why he's always saved by the people who depend on him. Whether that's his business partners or his women, they save him. Why? Because he is this creative force. And that's how the show ends, on his greatest creative accomplishment. And it doesn't get more American than that ending.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And that's why the show is so immensely awesome. Bird on a Wire isn't that much of a creative accomplishment. It really isn't. The ending is phoned in. I freely admit that.
Well, the whole movie. I mean, it's so, you have to.
The chase is fun, and the chase is well done, and they should have ended on the chase, but you need to wrap it up. So they wrapped it up in a zoo. And I'm like, wait.
Why?
And I had this big...
Why do you think that is? What did that have to do with anything aside from them ripping off Romancing the Stone?
Well, they actually just ripped off Beverly Hills Cop 3. Because that's like in a theme park.
They've manufactured additional hijinks, essentially. Like
true.
Goldie outruns. Okay. Goldie out Tiger. That's like a real thing that happens in this movie.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, it's a zoo tiger, right? So it's it's a well-fed, lazy, domesticated tiger used to dealing with people who take care of him. He's loved. He's cuddled. I mean, he's only being tiger as a play tiger.
Either way, really. I can't outrun a house cat or a dog, let alone a tiger.
No, so it's ridiculous. It is. Just like, you can't dodge bullets.
No. Oh,
and you can't, and you definitely can't dodge bullets coming out of assault rifles.
I don't like the zoo piece. It just seemed like
it doesn't fit the movie. I agree.
It had nothing to do with anything. If anything, it just overcomplicated the filming because you add in animals.
Yeah.
Like that can't have been easy.
I mean, what would have made sense is if they had like the final set piece in his FBI contact's house.
Yeah.
He comes to this. I mean, the MacGuffin is really the address book to get to the FBI guy who's going to save the day. And when they finally reach him, it turns out it's just some guy who has Alzheimer and he can't really help. And the last thing he says is, remember the zoo? I work there now. They have guns there. That's his message. And that's really, okay, we'll do that then. But I think the stakes would have been higher if the Alzheimer-ish FBI guy if he was threatened as well. So they get them out of the way quick. And I thought that was kind of a cop-out. The zoo thing really doesn't work for me either. It's just up until that point, I really loved the movie.
Okay. I can see that. I mean, there was a lot missing for me, but it was still enjoyable. Like I said, their banter and their bickering with each other. And, I really liked that.
It worked because of the chemistry.
Yeah, it for sure did. The other thing that it had going was, didn't you say, yes, I noted that the soundtrack was by Hans Zimmer.
Zimmer. He's coming into his own at this point.
He doesn't? I swear to God, he's done every movie on the face of this planet.
Sure.
He's like, right? Like, what has he not done?
I guess he's cheap.
He's good, though.
Sure. Of course he is. Actually, the first time I remember thinking about Hans Zimmer as a major soundtrack artist was with Days of Thunder, which was right around this time, the Tom Cruise movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big part of that.
For me, it was one of the best movies ever, in my opinion. True Romance.
Sure. But his best stuff is Gladiator.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But anyway, Hans Zimmer is like a big hitter. So for like just a random, adventure comedy movie.
Yeah, I guess that production company he works with just kind of likes German composers, because before they worked with Hans Zimmer, they worked with Harold Faltermeyer.
I'm not familiar.
Harold Faltermeyer, because he did everything in the 80s. And Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun.
Oh, okay.
All those movies.
I just don't know the name. Got it.
No,
yeah, that
but
makes sense.
you know the music. And he comes from a kind of a German school of soundtrack making, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I should look into that.
So did this movie do well? Like
definitely did well. Yeah, it cost $20 million. They made, let me just check real quick because I made notes on this. They made 15 million opening weekend, which is nice. Then you almost make the movie back, and they did about 138 million worldwide, which in 1990 money is a lot of money for a comedy.
Now Mel, if I remember, I'm getting it, I can't recall, but this was kind of at the height. He was doing a lot of this kind of movie.
Sure.
Wasn't he?
Everything made money.
This was like height of his stardom, seemingly.
As an actor, yes.
So maybe, yeah.
After this, he goes into like actor directing, and then he becomes basically a producer, director, producer, actor. That's where you really make the money, right? Because once you start producing it, then it's your movie. Then you're the guy who gets the financing, so you're getting the profits. Like, we talked about with Michael Douglas. It's like Michael Douglas produces all his movies, so he's the one getting the big check.
Smart.
Yeah, whereas here it's just Mel coming into his own in Hollywood, where before he worked mostly out of Australia, and he would do movies with Peter Weir, for example, and they were good movies. They just, bad marketing or a strange story or just not enough budget that sort of made it a little clunky, because he would do like the Mutiny on the Bounty or The Year of Living Dangerously. We'll cover those at some point. But during this part, Post-Lethal Weapon, he really could not do wrong. He had this run of movies where he would just get bigger every movie.
Yeah. I remember
A-lister.
Yeah, he was definitely. Yes. So getting back to Bird on a Wire.
Bird on a Wire.
I have no more comments. Do you have any final thoughts on Bird on a Wire?
Final thoughts on Bird on a Wire. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do this one with you is because you'd get to talk relationships, and this is really an abandonment issue, because that's what they really resolve during the movie. The fights are all about, you left me. You weren't there when I expected you would be. So why should I trust you now? Why should we continue? The movie in itself is like, okay, why should they be together? We're going to have fun together. Basically comes into her own once they get chased by the police. I mean, there's this thing where they just drive that Beamer of hers. They drive that into, what was that? A tunnel, a train, and there's a train coming. So he has to reverse it really hard. And then the cops are right outside and they have to escape the cops again. And at one point he just says, well, hey, are you having fun? And she's like, yes, I am. And that's really it. She needs his excitement. Back. He brings excitement, and she needs that excitement. And
she was an ex-hippie, and now she's a control freak lawyer.
Yeah. Which really, when you think about it, is very 80s. It's like all the hippies became money-grabbing business
yuppies. Yep, hippies became yuppies.
Yeah.
70. Wasn't that what they said?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, that's what what was that TV show with Michael J. Fox? What was it called?
The Secret of My Success?
No, that wasn't.
Family Ties.
Family Ties. Family Ties was about that.
Yeah.
The parents were hippies, and the kids were basically yuppies.
Just Alex.
Mostly
Alex. Yeah, Alex. Just Alex, because Mallory was the dummy. Like,
with the handsome dummy boyfriend. It was such a great show.
Yeah, that was a cute show for sure.
Yeah. To basically, for me, Bird on a Wire is a relationship movie about, okay, what would it be like to be back with your ex again? And really, you get back into the mayhem you had when you were with her or with him. Because the mayhem is back. It's like so that's why this relationship is not going to last post zoo, because nobody's pointing a gun at them. So they're getting married now. They're going to have children. Really, those two? How? And I don't see that happening.
Good precursor to our next the next thing that we're going to cover, like what happens after the happily ever after.
What happens
Well,
after?
if your relationship requires constant chaos and drama, when that ends, what do you have? So for Mel and Goldie, now I will say whoever the people, they say, relationships should do, something that you've never done, something not necessarily dangerous, but you're supposed to have unique experiences together, and that kind of helps bond you.
Adventure helps.
It does. However,
it brings out the best in you and the worst. So
it does.
Under those circumstances, if you can deal with each other and if you can overcome common problems, you have a shot at a relationship.
In real life.
Yeah. But the biggest problem in those relationships is, what if you take the excitement away?
Exactly.
That's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what happens here. So there was no Bird on a Wire 2 because there didn't need to be one.
There didn't need to be one.
So I don't think they're together. I think they tried it. I think they tried it and it didn't work.
Well, maybe she met this other handsome guy who was just as exciting, but, decent and normal, like, someone like Kurt Russell.
I was just going to say she met Kurt Russell. That's what happened.
There's a reason they're still together. He's awesome.
I love them.
Yeah.
Together. They're cute. I love Kurt Russell.
I mean, okay. So this is like, Kurt Russell would visit her on the set. And he'd fly in. But he wouldn't fly in. He'd come with his own plane. Because he's a pilot. He would just show up for lunch.
Perfect.
There's no way of competing with a man like that.
Just straight up now. Also, now I would say, like, from a, casting perspective, Kurt Russell could have very easily been Mel's character.
Sure.
They're the same type. They're like the good-looking everyman adventure. Like they both play the same role.
I'm sure they
time.
offered him the script. And I think at that point that Mel, because of his continuing success, was really the guy of the it actor of the moment. And he was the right guy for this movie because he could carry it.
Yeah.
People would go see that. I saw that movie because Mel was in it. It was a great date movie. I saw it because Mel was in it. I thought it was fun. And I have good recollections, vague recollections, probably because I was like making out halfway through the movie and probably missed most of the scenes we just talked about. I was 17.
Yeah.
Can't remember the girl I was with, but
Oh, that's super nice.
Who knows? Maybe she'll let me know.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny?
Wouldn't that be?
Talk about exes from the past in this movie. That'd be hilarious.
Wouldn't it be?
But yeah.
Because you were too young to date because you were 8, but
I was. I probably had, I did have crushes on boys when I was 8. I know who they are. I can recall.
So that was like exchanging notes in class and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember
Making eyes. Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay. So that finishes off Bird on a Wire. Stay tuned for the next episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome.